Hey guys, Charlie Murphy here. Thank you for choosing my video. Playing another session of 256 max no limit games on Ignition. Upper right hand table, open 10s under the gun. Got called by the big blind. I'll go ahead and range bet on the 995 two-tone board. Lower right hand table, I'll open ace 6 suited from the cutoff using a 28% range. Get check raised by the big blind. No reason to go ahead and just start thinking about folding the hand like 10s quite yet. Lower right hand table, going to go ahead and check range to the in position caller. Check raised about 2/3 size. Go ahead and defend that for a call. Lower right-hand table, he checks back and go ahead and start jabbing at that turn with the small bet. Upper left-hand table, I'll open queens under the gun using an 18% range. Lower right-hand table, I'll open kings from middle position using a 21% range. He goes heads and overbets. He could have a lot of 9x here. I no longer even have top pair with the king out there. It's not a very tight formation. I think it's okay to go ahead and make a bit of a more snug fold. I can have a lot of 9x, quad 9s, 5s full, kings full type hands here to be trapping with, or draws to float with as well. I think I can go ahead and fold the 10s. Upper left-hand table, we're multi-way with at least one player in position, so I'll be going ahead to check range on that king, queen, 10 two-tone board, looking to put in a check raise here, especially now since he complied and stabbed at that flop. Go ahead and put in a small check raise with second set. After the stab and the overcall, he goes ahead and quickly calls this check raise. Let's see what happens from the player behind me. Let's see here. Great card for me as I fill up. I'm no longer scared about flop straights or being outdrawn by a flush draw. King X probably still comes along, and 10X obviously goes nowhere. Same thing with flop straights. We're multi-way, so I'm going to go ahead and just use a small size. The multi-way nature of the pot, that small size really benefits from multiple players being out there. Plus, it lets me charge draws that are drawing dead if they've got some kind of Jack X, some kind of flush draw. He complies. He check calls. A little over pot behind me. Small overbet, about a pot and a quarter. I think the move is just go ahead and jam all in here with my monster hands, including flop straights. I think are still good enough to jam all in here, even with the board pairing. And I guess I could have some bluffs, some Jack X bluffs that didn't get there. Although I'm not really sure what Jack X I have that isn't also a straight. I'm sure I could find bluffs somehow. The important thing is I'm trying to get all in with my full house. So I'm going to move all in right here. I don't think there's too much merit in using the smaller size. I think that's going to be an all-in or fold situation. He calls off. I pick up a stack. He had king 10, so that's a really nasty cooler, the underfool on that 10 on the turn. And glad I didn't bet smaller and give him a chance to possibly play that full house a bit passively and not get all the money all in right there. .4x open from the button. I'm going to go ahead and defend for a call with my queen 5 suited and check range on the flop. He checks back. Turn is the ace. Now let me see here. He could have the ace, or he could be repping the ace. I usually just go ahead and start jabbing the turn here. I think there might be some more merit in actually check raising on the ace though instead. or just bluffing the river if he checks back again. He overbets. It changes my calculus plenty. I'm a lot less inclined to check raise and overbet on that particular line. It changes my plan. I can go ahead and check fold. Lower left-hand table, get a 2.5x open from the cutoff. I will 3-bet from the button with my queen 10 suited. 3-betting about 13% in this particular spot. Lower left-hand table, going to open queen 6 suited from the cutoff using about a 28% range. It's right around the bottom of my raise first in range there. Facing the 3-bet from the small blind, I'll just go ahead and fold. Now, upper left-hand table, open 4s on the button using a 44% range. Lower left-hand table, open 10-9 suited from middle position using a 21% range. I'm going to go ahead and range bet the upper left-hand table and that Queen Jack 10 Broadway flop after the big blind checks. Turn the Jack, I'll be checking back. Ideally, I can find a way to hit a 4 on the river. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot of value in this hand. I can perhaps find some ways to bluff with it. Lower left-hand table, I'll range bet against the big blind on the 8-7 deuce two-tone board. I do have the open-ended straight draw. Check back the 4s against that check. River is a 7. I feel like I need to turn this hand into a bluff as opposed to try to show it down against ace high. Hopefully can fold out some kind of 10x type hands or a mid pair. Probably not real profitable, but I think it's better than just surrendering. He snaps me with 10-9. Lower left-hand table, we get that deuce going to play overbet or check, and the open-ended straight draw is a prime candidate for the overbet, so I'll go ahead and put in a 150% bet on the turn. Lower left-hand table, got a 3x open from the button. I'll go ahead and defend my big blind for a 3-bet with ace-king offsuit, assuming it folds to me here. And we're in a standard blind defense situation. Oh no, we get a 4x 3-bet. I'm going to go ahead and play cold 4-bet or fold. Ace-king, of course, is going to be a stack-off hand here. I have about a 50-50 ratio of value bets to bluff, stacking off 10s plus ace-king in this loose formation. I'm going to be cold 4-betting about 7% here because I'm stacking off so wide and bluffing so wide as well. Use like most of my suited broadways, maybe pocket 9s and ace-queen as my cold 4-bet fold hands in this spot. Like I said, calling off with 10s plus and ace-king. Upper right-hand table, open deuces on the button using a 44% range. He jams, I call off with the ace-king, flipping against ace-king suited. Yeah, I'm going to chop this. Very reasonably played hand by him. Pretty straightforward situation by me as well. I would think flatting the cold 4-bet from his position would not be a good play in my opinion. I like that he jammed as opposed to calling. Calling going to make you check fold too much on the flop and fold the best hand sometimes. It's really going to be hard to have it be too bad getting ace-king suited in pre-flop for 100 blinds, especially in a loose formation like that. So just ship over the top, pick up the dead money when they fold. don't get outplayed because you have to check fold on the flop kind of thing and never get to realize your equity. Just what he did was good, in my opinion. Get a limp and an isolation. I'm just going to go ahead and treat this, for the most part, like a 3-bet or fold situation, more like I'm in the small blind, given that I'm not closing the action. Just go ahead and fold the pocket threes. Calling's probably not terrible, but you're going to be out of position to 2 players or risk getting limp squeezed. Probably a little bit better to just fold some of those marginal pairs in that spot so they're trying to develop a cold call range as well. A min raise from middle position, an overcall from a player who's been fairly loose pre-flop, potentially a little bit fishy. Small blind comes along, I can close the action with 8s here. There's really not a whole lot of reason to squeeze in this formation. His RFI shouldn't be all that loose. I think calling is very clearly the best play here as opposed to raising. Especially with the small pre-flop raise, meaning I don't win quite as much when the squeeze gets through. And 8s play really nicely multi-way as well. Get a 2.2 1/4 open on the button. I will 3-bet the small blind with ace-queen offsuit. Kind of a little bit in between sizing right there. I'll still 3-bet him about 15% in that spot. Ace-jack plus king-queen. Pocket 5s are better. Suited aces, suited Broadway, suited 9s. Something like that. Lower left-hand table, I'll open 5s under the gun using an 18% range, and I get 4-bet. It's unfortunate. Really can't do a whole lot about it with the hand like ace-queen. Ace-queen offsuit. Ace-queen suited, of course, I could get in there and defend for a call. I don't want to start jamming hands like ace-queen, start jamming into too many pairs and ace-king, and it's just not profitable. They don't get a ton of folds. Lower right-hand table, going to open jack 10 from the button using the 44% range. Called by the small blind, who checks. I'll range bet him small on the king 8-4 two-tone board. Quickly calls, but I get a really nice card for me, giving me the open ender on that offsuit 9. I'm going to play overbet or check on this particular texture. Use the 150% size, so I'll just keep blasting with my open ender. It's the exact kind of hand I want to be put into my overbet semi-bluff range, and he quickly folds the turn with some kind of mid-pair, probably. 8x, pocket 6s, something like that. Lower left-hand table, got a new table going here. I'm going to open 10-9 from the button using a 44% range. Couple potential rec type players in here with a guy buying in for 30 blinds, a guy buying in for about 75. Upper left-hand table, open Jack 10 suited under the gun using an 18% range. Upper right-hand table, open 9-6 suited from the button using a 44% range. Blind down blind against the limper, I will check in with Queen 7, lower left-hand table. Upper left-hand table, blind down blind against the 3x open. I will 3-bet my ace-queen offsuit, 3-betting 17, 18% in that spot. I don't really have too much in the way of backdoors. I do have the 3s of the straight right here, but it's pretty weak. I'm just going to go ahead and fold that against the min bet. The blind bat on my 3-bet gets called. Get a 10-7 deuce two-tone board. I'm going to go ahead and put in the small range bet here after the small blind checks to me. Lower right-hand table, min raise from the cutoff. I will defend from the big blind with king deuce suited and check range on the flop. Now the out of position player, he check calls my bet one time, and I turn top pair with that offsuit ace. I'm going to go ahead and put in the check raise against that small bet size in the lower right-hand table. I'm going to continue betting with the ace-queen and just try to get the money in, betting roughly geometric growth of pot. Check raise got called in the lower right-hand table. I'm going to keep semi-bluffing with my king-high flush draw. Got called again. River makes me completed flush, and it's also on a 4-straight run out. We've got a 10 is the 4-card straight. I'm going to go ahead and just bet here. I'm going to use my pot size bet on the 4-straight run out. And I've got the second nut, so I'm pretty happy looking to get some action here from a 10x. If I get raised, I really hope he doesn't have the nut flush, but I'm obviously coming along and stacking off there with the second nuts anyway. Quickly folds to my river value bet, though. Lower right-hand table, open 5s in the button, using a 44% range. Small blind and the big blind come along. Both are potentially recreational players, given this guy's short stack and limps and this guy's frequent calling pre-flop and calling out of the small blind. I'll go ahead and tag him. Not range checking because I'm in position, but not range betting because I'm multi-way. Hand like 5s I think will play better in the check back line. So I'm going to move us a bit closer towards showdown and keep this pot a bit smaller and give them a chance to telegraph the strength of their hand. When he goes and blasts for pot, then this guy quickly snaps. I think I'll just get out of the way with my 5s instead. Lower right-hand table, open Jack-8 suited from the cutoff using a 28% range. You get squeezed pretty large by this in-position player here with pocket 7. It's just going to be a very easy fold out of position, especially for that size up. I'm probably not calling anything for that size. I'm probably jamming or folding because there's so much dead money out there. Because if he bet, he bet 65. A standard 3-bet there is going to be 35 to 40 bucks. And granted, there's that overcaller, so it should be bigger. But he made it 65. Plus, we had not just my RFI, but also his overcall out there. So I think we're just going to be not calling anything and just looking to raise. I'm not even really sure I can have too much of a small 4-bet size. I mean, I guess maybe I could blast up Ace Queen and fold it. Although it's starting to get awfully bloated, it's pretty close. I'd have to probably use a bit smaller 4-bet size than I normally would, just because that pot's so bloated. Lower right-hand table, I get a 2x RFI from the cutoff. I can go ahead and defend the big blind because of the small sizing with my King-8 offsuit, and I will check range on the flop. Lower left-hand table, a small blind limps. I will check in with Queen-8 offsuit. Probably a recreational player limping in from the small blind. He did that last time. I'm going to float him this time with 2 overcards and that Queen of Diamonds in my hand. Check call with my weak top pair on the lower right-hand table. Open King, Queen suited from middle position. Upper left-hand table using 21% range. Against the second half pot barrel, I don't really have anything going for the hand at this point. I'll let the Queen-8 go. He goes and he bets again, a third pot on that flush closing turn. I do have the 8 of diamonds in my hand. I'm very happy to call a small bet here with top pair and a weak 4-card diamond draw. Upper left-hand table, going to go ahead and range bet the big blind small on that Queen 7-3. I do have overcards and a backdoor flush draw. Now he goes and he overbets the pot, puts in a small overbet on the river. Just not really sure what to make of this. I don't have that great a bluff catcher also. And I guess I block King Queen, I block some flushes. I guess it could be worse. Not that aggressive a formation. I think I'm probably better served just to fold here. Not entirely sure, a little bit suspicious of that play, but I don't know. I think folding there is going to be all right at the same time. Either a limp or a post, and in an isolation out of the small blind, I'll fold my 10-7, so I'm going to play 3-better fold on that spot. Lower left-hand table, going to open queens from, I guess that's actually the button, using the 44% range as this guy is out. Upper left-hand table, blind on blind, I will open ace-4 using a 45% range. Lower right-hand table, recreational player limps middle position. I will isolate from the cutoff using something like my middle position open range, including king-jack offsuit, about 21%. Upper left-hand table, going to open ace-queen suited from middle position using a 21% range. Upper left-hand table, open kings from the button using a 44% range. Get a king-jack-9 monotone flop. I'll go ahead and put in a small range bet against the big blind when we're heads up after he checks. I get led into for half pot here. I've got a gut shot, a backdoor flush draw, and overcard. Just he's short, and the guy behind me is even shorter and could just spaz jam all in and trap my money. I was leaning towards checking this back as opposed to continuation betting the flop just because of the shorter stacks being out there anyway. I think with him leading into me, it becomes even more of a fold just because I can't guarantee this guy doesn't back jam on me and trap my money. I'm also not that sure that his donk necessarily signifies as much weakness as otherwise would because he's doing it multi-way. And well, this guy's probably kind of a recreational player. He's using his sizer larger than you should on that multi-way spot. And of course, he's a sucker. He calls off with 6-4 bottom pair when the short stack jams top pair, top kicker, but he gets there. So either way, I was not going to see any more cards, and it's good I got out of the way when I did. Recreational player min raises from middle position. I will actually call my small blind with 5s here. It's a great hand to play in a single raise pot for a call for a small size against a recreational player, so I'll deviate and make a call for my small blind I wouldn't normally do. Lower left-hand table, blind on blind, the rec limps. I will this time prop him up with king 8 suited, using something like my button range, about 44%. Upper right-hand table, we get about a 2/3 continuation bet on 3-3 deuce. I will check call that with 5s and evaluate the turn. Lower left-hand table, I will go ahead and put in a small range bet, and I'll keep checking, try to show my 5s down or snap off a bluff. Against the rec in the blind battle, we have a flush closing turn, the jack of hearts. I'm going to use a smaller size on the flush closing turn. I'm going to bet my hands like marginal top pair that needs some equity denial, like king 8. I'm going to go ahead and put in a half pot bet and mostly check back the river. Trying to value bet this guy. I don't know. It might be a little thin if he checks to me. I'm not really sure he has too many worse kings or calls with a ton of worse pairs. I think checking back is more prudent. I'm somewhat tempted to try to sneak in a thin value bet against who's probably a weak player, but I'm going to take the showdown here. He had ace-6. I'm not really sure that his turn call is the best thing in the world, but I'm already pretty sure he's a recreational player, so. Probably a little loose to re-raise the limp in the ISO with king-queen just because it's going to get the pot pretty bloated. I probably want to raise up to stack off against a 4-bet with queens plus ace-king, and I probably want to be able to be folding most other stuff if he jams. Maybe I can sneak a few calls into a small 4-bet on top of my reasonably sized re-steal size. Hand like king-queen's probably a bit loose. I'm probably 3-betting about 8% there. Probably ace-queen, ace-king are my only offsuit broadways. Probably 3-bet something like ace-queen plus and pocket 9s plus suited broadways and a couple of wheel aces get me to around 8%. And I don't want to have calls there, at least for the most part. Maybe I talk myself into calling some mid pairs not quite good enough to re-steal. Lower left-hand table, open deuces from cutoff using a 28% range. Upper right-hand table, open ace-6 blind on blind using a 45% range. Against the 3-bet, I will just fold it. You get an ace-9-4 two-tone board. The short stack checks to me. I will go ahead and range bet him small. Mostly shutting down on the turn unless I happen to hit my gin card. I don't. And it's with a little loose to 3-bet the button. I'll check back the deuces here. Look to put in some kind of bluff on the river with it for the most part. Not against that pot size lead, though, from a recreational player. I'll just go ahead and fold to him there. If that's smaller, I can think about bluff raising, but against that size, I think I should just let it go. Open deuces again on that table, this time from middle position using a 21% range. There you go, multi-way action, and we flop bottom set on 7-4 deuce. Because we're multi-way and out of position to at least one player, I'll be checking range and looking to get a check raise in here if the button stabs. also possible one of these guys leads, as we've seen some erratic play from them as well, especially the 3-seat that's got a bit more money. Yeah, he goes and leads for half pot. I will flat him in position, let him keep his bluffs in play. Small blind comes along as well. Blasts into me again. This time another half pot or so bet. I will continue flatting in position as the board gets a bit scarier. Not the best river card for him, but I'm not that worried about somebody having a 3. Especially when they both check. I think I want to go ahead and actually value jam here. Short stack could call off 75 into 300, with almost anything, and I'm not that worried about this guy having 3s that are trapped or, not paying me off enough with other stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a desperation bluffy jam. It just happens to be a value bet with my set. This guy's got some kind of ace-x. He might talk himself into paying off. Oh, no, that guy got there with the 3. All right. I don't mind his play at all. Lower right-hand table, going to open 3s in middle position using a 21% range. Upper left-hand table, open ace-4 on the button using a 44% range. Get a couple of recreational players in this pot, one for a min-raise, one for a small blind defense of the min-raise. I will call, closing the action, the big blind with king-4 suited. Upper right-hand table, I'll range bet that small blind player after his check on the ace-king-deuce two-tone board. Fold my king-4 here to the lead with no real equity. Lower right-hand table, go ahead and range bet small on 10-9-7 two-tone. Upper left-hand table, rather, is going to be overbet or check situation. And I don't really want to overbet a weak ace here. I want to overbet my strong type hands, ace-king, ace-10, sets, straights, and some draws, flush draws, especially flush draws with a gut shot to the Broadway as well. Check back ace-4 to sort of under-rep and induce bluffs, or let me value bet thinner on later streets. Not the best river card for me. Closes the flush and puts a force bet there, so I'll just show the hand down for free instead. Lost to ace-king. I don't know what he's doing playing ace-king like that, but he's clearly a recreational player. So we'll go ahead and give him a tag. Go ahead and get a raise in on this guy. Bluff raise that board. I can have some Jack X that checked back, or even some boats that trapped. Don't want to call there. You could have too many thin value bets, pairs, or even bluffs that beat me. But you can move them off at a decent bit, so it's worth trying. Lower left-hand table, I'll open queen 10 on the button using the 44% range. Lower right-hand table, I'll start jabbing at the turn small after the flop checks through in that limped pot. You get 3-bet by the big blind, who's been tight and passive so far, so it's a very easy fold with a hand like queen 10 offsuit. Upper right-hand table, got that 3x open from the cutoff. I'm in the big blind with 7-4 suited, kind of on the cusp, but probably a little bit too loose to defend, so I'm going to go ahead and fold that one. Tables look pretty good right now. Guess this one perhaps not, so I'll shuffle that one out. But I already won my stack there, so we're good to go. Lower right-hand table, got a 3x open, blind on blind. I will defend for a call with the ace-6 offsuit. He checks to me. I'm just going to go ahead and stab for half pot. The pool does not do all that great a job of defending their checking range for the most part in these blind spots. Lower left-hand table, get another limp in the blind. I will go ahead and check in with 7-3. I get check called. I want to play overbet or check here in this lower right-hand table. And I don't want to overbet a hand like ace-6. I want to have some kind of draw. You know, I've got hands like, I guess some, I don't know, the straight draws for the most part I've raised pre-flop. Maybe I don't really have too many nut-type hands. I don't want to use overbets here at all. Either way, I want to check the ace-6. Get bet into here. I've got bottom pair. I'll float that at least once against this guy. And I'll go ahead and check it back on the turn. Upper right-hand table, going to raise ace-7 on the button using the 44% range. Haven't turned a small two-pair. Going to try to get some value from that rec on the lower right-hand table. I don't really know if there's too much value in trying to bluff a guy off of a pair here or even a better ace-high on this particular run-out in action. I'm just going to take my showdown, and I'm obviously never making trips fold. There's a smidge of showdown value against stuff that he should just check call and turn into a bluff. Not that time, but occasionally I'll actually win that pot with ace-high. And I don't really fold too much better, so I was content to not bluff that one. Upper right-hand table, going to open Queen-Jack suited from middle position using a 21% range. Going to open King-10 from the cutoff in the upper left-hand table using a 28% range. Three bet by the small blind. Fairly tight formation, but I'm in position. The sizing is reasonable. I can defend with my suited broadways and mid pairs. Probably four bet kings, aces, ace king suited. Call in position with ace king offsuit, queens through sevens, and suited broadways. Against the three bet with king 10 offsuit over here on the upper left hand table, I will just fold that one. He bets small into me on the queen 6-3 two-tone board. I will of course continue with my top pair. Lower right-hand table, going to 3-bet the button against the cutoff raise first in with my queen 10 suited, using about a 13% range. And he checks. I'm going to go ahead and check back and try to either under-rep my hand to induce bluffs or get a value bet later on. Pretty good river card for me, as I'm not that worried about him having diamond draws, and now I've got trips. Doesn't really improve me unless he had an overpair that was slow walking me on the turn, which is possible and reasonable. Opening jacks and ace-8 suited on the lower tables from the cutoff, in both cases using a 28% range. Trying to decide if there's any merit in 3-betting this particular hand all in on that flush closer. I don't really know that I get hero called by too much stuff like pocket jacks, pocket tens, ace, pocket kings. I think I'm better off just flatting this. And it was against a better queen, so the flat worked out real nice for me. This guy hasn't been too active pre-flop. I don't think I need to call off his jam here with the ace-8 suited. Lower left-hand table, open ace-jack from under the gun using an 18% range. That sizable 3-bet. Go ahead and fold. The recreational player goes and overcalls. Love to find a way to be involved with him, but not with a hand like ace-jack to a large 3-bet in position. Larger open size, 3.5x open from a recreational player. That's it. I've got a great hand to defend with. I'm going to go ahead and call here with the pocket sevens out of the big blind, closing the action. I'm going to check fold against that bet in the multi-way pot on Jack, Queen, Deuce, Rainbow. Going to open threes in the cutoff on the lower right-hand table using the 28% range. Big blind comes along and checks to me on the Jack 10-4 Rainbow. I'll go ahead and put in a small range bet. Lower left-hand table, the rec limps under the gun. I'll pop him up from the cutoff with something like my middle position raise first in range, about 21%, including ace-3 suited. Rec limp calls. We get a pretty good flop. Ace-5-4 two-tone. I do have the backdoor flush draw to go with my gut shot in, my top pair. I'll go ahead and put in a small range bet. Calls. Interesting turn card. I think this is actually going to be best played as overbet or check. I want to overbet my strong aces and my fives and fours full, as long as some good flush draws and hands like 6-7. I want to have some 3x in my bet range and some 3x in my check range, and 3x with some showdown values such as weak trips is probably good for the check back line. So we'll check this one back and plan to induce a bluff or try to get some sneaky value in on the river. Going to open ace-jack under the gun, the lower left-hand table, using 18% range. Lower left-hand table, got a min-raise under the gun, the button calls. I'm in the small blind with pocket sevens. Pocket sevens really are a little bit too loose to go ahead and squeeze with here. However, given the price is so good, I think I can actually go ahead and sneak in a call from the small blind, which we're going to do, try to hit that third seven. And check range out of the small blind on the flop. I'm in against the rec with the ace-jack on an ace-queen-10 monotone flop. Going to go ahead and put in a small range bet against him here. And against that pot-sized bet on the river, I can just fold my sevens. That's kind of fishy play from that guy there. They'd be using that size multi-way. Give him a temporary maybe tag as a recreational player. We see what else he does. The rec check called my bet on the flop. I'm going to continue betting. Given that flush is possible out there, I'm going to go ahead and use the half pot size and put a hand like ace-jack with no diamond into the betting range. Get a 2.5x open from middle position on the lower right-hand table. Going to 3-bet from the cutoff with Jack-10 suited, 3-betting about 10% here. Got a 2.5x open and a min-raise. We'll just get out of the way with my Queen-Jack opposite in the lower left-hand table. It's a cold 4-bet or fold scenario. I don't want to start getting myself in the middle with Queen-Jack offsuit. We get reshipped in here. This guy cold calls the 3-bet, and then the short stack reships over the top for 55 more. I'm a little nervous this guy could actually be strong and be trapping, so I don't want to reship a whole buy-in in there against that guy. I'm just going to go ahead and flat for the price I'm being given and play post-flop against this player instead. I'll check range to him in position on that board and still get good value from an ace. I don't need to blow him off of his bluffs if I have strong hands here, especially with this weird scenario going on with the side pot being dry and all that. I will, however, start jabbing at that turn now that I have a gut shot and a flush draw. Either move him off or get myself to the river in a nice affordable price. Didn't pick it up. I don't see any need to really. I mean, I guess I could bluff the side pot and try to pick it up. But it's probably too likely this guy has some kind of ace in his range, and I'm not going to win the main pot anyway, so I'd be bluffing. It's a bad risk reward scenario. I'm going to go ahead and surrender it because of the side pot situation. Lower right-hand table, going to go ahead and 3-bet the middle position open from the cutoff with pocket kings, using about a 10% range. Upper left-hand table, blind on blind, raise about 45%, including ace-6. Upper right-hand table, in a range bet small with nines, the overpair on that 6-5-4 board. And against that stab, I do have the backdoor spade draw. I think I can go ahead and check call this one. Could maybe check raise as well. I think I like check calling a bit better though. Upper right hand tail, I'm going to overbet or check this, and a hand like nines, a good second pair. I think I'm just going to go ahead and check that one back to get towards the river a bit cheaper. Be overbetting my sets, my good Jack X, my overpairs. Now this guy goes and he puts in a sizable overbet on that ace turn, but I did hit the ace. I think I just want to show down my nines there on that particular run out. Now, it's not. I don't know that this guy. I don't give this a lot of credence here at all. That sizing's pretty overbluffed. Although bet less so. Ace turn overcard. It's actually pretty close. Ace turn overcard +1. Got great removal. Some bluff catching. Ran into a set. Upper right-hand table, going to go ahead and check range, blind on blind here. I'll be planning to check raise with my open ender. Don't get a chance to, but I'll start jabbing at that turn small instead. He calls, not going to surrender 6 high, so I'll follow through with a standard size bluff. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet the button with my ace-jack against the cutoff 2 1/4 open. 3-betting 13% or so here. Ace-jack plus king-queen, pocket 7s or better, wheel aces, suited broadways, suited 9x type hands. Lower left-hand table, going to open king-9 from the button using a 44% range. Against that 3-bet from the big blind, I will just get out of the way. Get a small open, 2.4x blind on blind here. I've got ace-3 suited. I'm going to go ahead and defend that for a call. He checks to me, so I'll go ahead and stab for half pot. Knowing the checking range is not very well defended in these spots for the most part. Against the check raise, though, I will just go ahead and fold. Check in against this recreational player's limp from my big blind and check range on the flop. He checks through, so I'll go ahead and start stabbing the turn small. He calls. I think I've got no choice but to turn this hand into a bluff on the river, so I'll try to fold him off a 7, a 10. Probably not any better than that. Certainly not the straight. Not sure how he doesn't find a raise with that hand either, but what are you going to do? Gonna raise 8s from the button, using the 44% range. Gonna raise ace-3 suited from the button, the upper left-hand table, again using the 44% range. Flop top set against that short stack player. Somewhat fishy, gonna go ahead and range bet small on the 8-5 deuce two-tone board. He calls, turn is the king of spades. We'll be playing overbet or check on that, and the set, especially not top set, is going to be a very obvious overbet, so go ahead and put the overbet in. Upper left-hand table, I'll range bet the big blind on the 10-9-9 two-tone board. Decent turn card for me. I'll go ahead and check back with my two pairs. Well, now it's counterfeit on the board, but my ace high plays. Probably doesn't change anything all that much. Lower left-hand table, isolate the recreational player limper from the button with queen 10, using about a 28% range here. I'll just take my showdown with the ace high, and it's good against king high. Lower right-hand table at a 3x open blind on blind. I will defend that with the king deuce suited. Nice flop with second pair and the nut flush draw for me there on ace king 7 two-tone against a small bet. I will go ahead and defend that. Some flush draws want to be bet, some check. This has showdown value, but not strong enough where I'm trying to get a lot of value from the betting, so I'll just go ahead and put that in the check back line. Upper right-hand table, going to open tens from middle position using a 21% range. And we get about a 75% bet here. The bet check bet line is pretty neutral with the ace high flop, perhaps slightly over bluffed. I'm going to go ahead and call it down. Can't get a winner to showdown, unfortunately. Not good for the bottom line. Lower right-hand table, going to open King 3 suited from the button using a 44% range. You get 3-bet and just going to have to go ahead and fold. Cold 4-bet makes the fold even easier. Lower right-hand table, open Ace-5 suited from the cutoff using a 28% range. And 2.5x open from the button on the lower or upper right-hand table. I can go ahead and overcall that even with the small blind caller. The hand like a King 10 offsuit. Especially since I think this guy might be a weak player playing short. He leads into me for pot as well. I'm pretty convinced that he is not a strong player doing that kind of thing. Yeah, and he had ace-9, just massively overplayed ace-9 into the pre-flop raiser set. Hope he comes back. Lower upper right-hand table, open 8-6 suited, blind on blind, using about a 45% range. Can defend very wide against the 3-bet in this loose formation, including suited gappers. So I'm going to go ahead and take a flop. Got a great flop with an open-ended straight draw and flush draw. He checks back, so I'm just going to go ahead and jab the turn small. I am not going to give that as a very good hand. I'm going to I'm going to treat that like he's trying to get the showdown cheaply. I'm planning to put in a 3-bet here on this guy. We're just going to reship over the top here. You could do that with hands like sets as well. Small size in that line. He doesn't have a ton of strong hands. He might have some Jack X, or he might just think I'm weak and he's trying to get an Ace King to showdown cheaper or something. Lower right-hand table isolated the limper from the cutoff with King 10. Upper left-hand table, get a 2.5x open from the cutoff. I will 3-bet from the small blind with Ace-King suited using about 11% 3-bet range. Get called, get an Ace-King deuce monotone flop. I will check range on that monotone flop. He checks back. Turn is a queen. I'm going to go ahead and start betting my top two now. I'll use a half pot bet here on this monotone board. Monotone flop. Flush possible board. Lousy river for me, putting a 4 straight and 4 flush out there. I think I'll just try to get it towards showdown. I was good anyway. Button 2.5x open, upper right-hand table. I will 3-bet from my big blind with pocket jacks. 3-betting about 14-15% there. He had ace-queen. And we get 4-bet here after 3-betting the big blind. I'm going to be continuing, trying to decide if there's any merit in jamming on this. I think I probably want to jam queens, king, ace-king suited. Or queens, kings, ace-king. Maybe ace-5 suited is a bluff. I think I want to defend with a lot of calls, including jacks down through like 8s or 7s in the suited broadways, and trap with aces. Check range on the flop. That's a nice flop for me to continue. If he puts any money in, just blast him over the top. Yeah, I think I just want to go ahead and check jam with, you know, my overpairs, my 9s full. I could probably even do it with 8s and 7s as well as my flush draws, my aces. I think jacks just play really well on the check jam line here. We snap up his continuation bet when he's bluffing or has ace-king, ace-queen. He calls off with ace-king, thinking he's against the draw. Actually get the money in ahead. And pick up a nice little pot there. He has some equity in it, of course. He's thinking I'm just jamming draws and he's ahead of my draws, which is not necessarily wrong, although he does block the ace-high flush draws with the ace of club in his hands. I'm not sure how much that actually impacts his call-down decision there. Buttons opens 2.5x upper right-hand table. I will 3-bet from the small blind with my king 10 suited, 3-betting about 15% in this spot. Lower left-hand table, going to range bet on the flop there on that 8-6-4 board. Upper right-hand table, I'll open 7s from the button using a 44% range. Lower left-hand table will defend that 2.2x open from the big blind, or from the middle position out of my big blind. I'll be defending with pocket deuces. Checks back the flop. I'll start probing it at small on that turn. It's getting more coordinated with that 9 interacting with the 10-10-8 flop. River, I got no choice but to turn the hand into a bluff here now. Forced grit run, I'll use a pot-size bet. Not going to try to check my deuces down, try to get him to fold a pair. Upper left-hand table, open ace-6 suited from middle position using a 21% range. Quickly 3-bet to a large size, almost 4x. Go ahead and fold that. Upper left-hand table, got a 3x open, blind on blind. I will 3-bet from the big blind with ace-queen, 3-betting 17, 18% in this range. Ace-queen, ace-king, pocket nines are better, suited broadways, some suited connectors, some smattering of off-suited hands, and some smattering of some suited hands, and some janky off-suited hands not quite good enough to call. Lower left-hand table will 3-bet from the button against the under-the-gun 2.5x open. I'm holding pocket 10s in this particular spot and happy to 3-bet with that. 3-betting 8 to 9% in this spot as it is. Upper left-hand table, blind on blind, I'll open 7s using a 45% range. Get called on the lower left-hand table pre-flop. Go ahead and put in a small range bet on that King-Jack 4 two-tone board. Probably mostly checking back turns. Upper right-hand table, raise 10-7 suited on the button using the 44% range. Button comes along, get a 9-6-5 two-tone board. I will go ahead and put in a small flop range bet. Got a gut shot, backdoor flush draw overcard. I got some ways out of this still. Turn is the king of clubs. I can have various straight draws, various gut shots, a lot of them. I don't want to bet them all. I want to check some of them back. I think I'll prioritize by betting the ones with clubs or draws or club blockers and check back the ones without. I'll put 10-7 in the check back line. And then on the river, when I still have 10 high and he checks again, I will go bet check bet to try to bluff him off. I can defend this cutoff open over here, 2.5x open from the big blind with 10-9. I'm rather on the cusp of what I would defend with in that spot, but I think it's reasonable. He checks back the flop. I'm going to go ahead and start jabbing at that turn small. Probably check the river unimproved, actually. Just hope he lets me show something down rather than try to make him fold a queen or an ace or try to get too many calls from worse. Now that said, that's a card I will turn into a bluff on, as it completes the straight or completes the flush and puts a 4 straight out there. I've really got no showdown value left here, but I can fold out some one-pair hands that are better now, so I'm going to go ahead and try to bluff with that. Weak ace would probably fold to that. And with a weak king or a queen or some weak 2 pairs even might fold. Flushes and straights will not be folding, of course, but that's not what I'm trying to make fold. There we go. Not really getting too many river bluffs through, but it doesn't mean I'm going to quit. I got to keep trying. Sooner or later, they will get through, and it'll all even out in the end. Upper right-hand table, got a 2.5x open. I'll 3-bet from the button with ace-king suited. 3-betting about 10% here. Upper left-hand table, open an ace-jack from the cutoff, opening about 28%. Lower right-hand table, opening queen-5 suited from the button, using about a 44% range. Our right-hand table will range bet that 10-5-3 rainbow board after the big blind has checked. Get check raised. He's been aggressive. I block the sets. I got a backdoor flush draw and second pair. Flop size wasn't that large. I think I should be floating this here. Good turn card for me, having picked up the backdoor spade draw. Now, against this 4-bet, I think I just want to go ahead and flat in position with pretty much everything. I normally would just reship ace-king, but maybe not this deep. I think I'll just flat that. And I'll flat that second barrel with my pair and my flush draw on the lower right-hand table. Great river for me, having banged off that backdoor flush. And he goes and he bets, he checks. The 4-better bets about half pot. I've got ace-king here, so I'm obviously just going to be going with this, not that worried about any other cards that are out there. I guess in theory he could have a set of aces or a set of tens, but we'll move all in with this backdoor flush. He quickly folds, so he was probably bluffing the entire time anyway. I'm about to wrap this session up here too as well next time the blinds come around. He goes and he bets small again. Now, I've obviously not folded. I don't see any reason to raise. I'm not that vulnerable, especially with that spade draw out there as well now that I have. So I'll just keep calling. Another pretty blank river. If he's got a weaker ace or if he's for some reason trying to bluff me off something, I want to give him the chance to do so. And I think I'll just move myself all in here on this river. For about 60% a pot. Yep, we snapped him off. What do you have, ace-queen? Did have ace queen. I don't mind his pre-flop 4-bet, but I think he should have probably bet the flop smaller and checked the turn. I think that's where he got himself into trouble. Pick up a nice stack there on my way out the door. Last hand, 9-deuce suited under the gun, which is going to be a fold, so we're going to shut it down at this point. Hope you enjoyed watching the video. I sure enjoyed making it. Until next time, this is Charlie Murphy, signing off.